I already have a job. I like my job. My job was a too big a part of my life at one point. I don't want this to like replace that. I want it to be like a really fun, passionate part of my life, but I don't want to push it. I don't want to push it anymore because I feel like if I push it anymore, it becomes not fun for how my brain operates. And yeah, I'm probably already spending like between traveling, going surfing, I think about surfing way too much. I like have to like I mean, I'm probably spending at least 20 hours a week on it. If not, so that's a proper half job. And then if you really count the hours I spend thinking about it, it's probably even way more than that, but I don't want to like sell myself out. But I am like kind of obsessed with it and I don't want it to like go even further.
That was Cass, or as many know her, Surfer Cass. Cass who wants to rip on social media. Cass's mission is to show that surfing is for everyone, at any stage, and in any body. Welcome to the Wipeout Weekly, the daily podcast for beginners, wannabe surfers, and seasoned wipeout enthusiasts. No hype, no filler, just the highs, lows, and honest truth about learning to surf and finding your place in surf culture. I'm your host, Suze Wilson. Let's go out. Why did it take you so long? And what actually pushed you to go out surfing?
I think, I feel like in general, I'm kind of a person who thinks a lot about things before I do them. Like when even in business, a lot of times I'll be on a call and like somebody will present like a problem to me, for example, and I'll be like, let me think about it and get back to you. And I think a lot of people use that term as to like move on from it, but I genuinely really am like thinking through the whole situation and problem solving on it, and then like we'll actually come back with the solution. So I think I kind of just sit with things a lot. And I looked at, researched a lot about surfing, and I was like, that looks interesting. I love snorkeling. I've loved swimming my whole life. And I was just like, but I'm just like, I don't know if I am too big or I weigh too much to do that or not. And I did some research on it, and like, when you start it's a whole rabbit hole, right? When you're learning about surfing, like there's so many things to learn. And when I was looking about, especially like here in LA, for example, like most lessons are going to put you on like an 8 or 9 foot board. And for a first time lesson for somebody like my size, that's not a good situation. It's like I'm above like the upper weight limit maxes on those. So I think I just, sort of like kind of shied away from it. But then in Hawaii, I noticed that they use like a lot of times they'll even put people on paddle boards for like their first surf lessons, or they use like big 11-foot boards. And I researched that and I'm like, oh, like I think like I could do that. And I've seen some, good size like people do that. So I was like, finally I think gave me enough confidence when I went down the rabbit hole far enough to learn like, oh, like, but in Hawaii they use bigger boards and they have a bigger weight limit and those are easier to stand up on. So it like kind of gave me the confidence and like safety to, at least even give the lesson a try.
So were you genuinely worried that you're going to sink?
I just thought that they would be like, you weigh too much, you can't do the lesson. Like, because like for example, like in horseback riding, a lot of those have like weight limits, for example. And I or like a water slide at a theme park can sometimes have a weight limit or that sort of thing. And I just didn't want to, I guess I had the fear of like showing up and they being like, this isn't going to work. You weigh too much. You can't do the lesson. I had this like, even if I would like call them and ask them, I had this like deep fear like in my mind that like that was going to like happen to me.
That's so interesting that you're saying this, because I just read on Reddit and it was a guy who just got into surfing. He was a beginner surfer and he wanted to introduce his parents to surfing, and they're, I think, in their 60s. And he called one of the surf schools, and that surf school implied that this was not a good idea at all. I think that was in Portugal. Did you call any of the schools, or did you just assume and it was just the fear of even, like, you're going to call and they're going to say, no, surfing is not for you?
I think I didn't even call them. Until I finally did it, I didn't talk to anybody about it. But I think I had the fear of, like, calling and then being like it like that conversation that guy had, like that's not a good idea for your parents. And it feels a little different when you're asking about yourself and like you get rejected in that way. So I think I had this subconscious fear of something like that happening to me for sure.
What's changed it?
I think surfing has actually changed a lot of that. Like I feel more comfortable than ever, like calling things that are athletic based and asking questions like that. Like I did like an aerial stretching class in Las Vegas, and I called them and just straight ahead like asked like, hey, what are like the weight limits on this? And I think facing the fear of like being too heavy to do things has actually like made me not scared of it, like doing it and realizing like the worst thing didn't happen, or even if like you are told no or you do have challenges because of your weight, like it isn't like the end of the world, and it's better to have tried than to have not done it. And I think just like doing this thing and like putting, showing myself in a bathing suit on the internet, doing an athletic thing has just made me like, it's really made that fear dissipate versus grow more.
Do you remember your first lesson?
I do, yes.
Did you start documenting it at that point, or was that without video and any write-up of it?
No, there's no video at that point because I didn't start looking up videos of surfing until after I did the lesson. So I kind of became interested in surfing because I was just like driving around. My first lesson was on Maui, actually. And I just remember I was always driving around. I would kind of like see it from the road. And that was, I was like, oh, that looks interesting. And I remember I actually found my first lesson on Airbnb experiences, which I liked because I could like message the guy and be like, this is like my height and this is what I weigh. Like bring, a big board, and and he reassured me that it was fine, and the experience totally was fine, it was a good experience. But after I did that and was like, oh, I want to do this again, that's when like I started looking up videos and stuff of it. But I didn't. In general, there's a couple things that I thought was sort of a big learning curve in surfing beyond like actually learning the surfing. One was like finding instructors or people to surf with, because I'm from Kentucky. I don't know anybody who does this. So like learning, who do I go surf with? What breaks are good for me? Who do I go surf with? So like, I feel like when I came back from Hawaii to LA, this was like, front end of 2024, it took me probably like 3 or 4 months of like asking around and like, finding people to figure out like, who can I surf with? Who has a board for me? Do they have a board that's right for me? That sort of thing. So I feel like that's step one that kind of took me several months to get a handle on. And then the other thing was, once you figure that out, is like, how do I make content of this? That's a whole nother sort of topic to broach in a learning curve as well.
What made you start making content on your surfing?
So I think I started making content of me surfing because I felt there was kind of a gap in the marketplace, so to speak, of a part of me that wasn't being spoken to in the current surfing content. There's a lot of surf creators that I really like, but I felt like there wasn't anybody that was like around my age, around my experience, like around my size, that was making content that was also like pretty new. And I was like, well, if I'm looking for this and I'm not finding it, there's probably other people that are looking for at least one of those things that aren't finding it. And so I decided to start making it because of that. And also, separately, I work in content for my job. So I genuinely like enjoy that. I love video editing. I like thinking of like short form video content. That's just something that is fun for me. So I was like, I have the skill set to do it. So why not give it a try? And I'm really glad that I did.
And when you got back from Hawaii, then a few months passed, you were very deliberate about who you're going to go out with and where you're going to surf. How often did you then go out every single week or month?
As we all know in surfing, a lot of times it does depend on the conditions. But I try to make sure I go. If I could go every day, I would. Like it's not a tired issue. It's a schedule weather issue, especially in California. But I try to go 3 or 4 times a week, and I try to do as many sessions as I can with like a coach or an instructor or like a group lesson or that sort of thing, just because I feel like I get more waves that way and I progress faster. I'm trying to do more sessions by myself intentionally, but I really socially like the aspect of a group lesson. I like enjoy having a teacher now. I guess it's kind of like why people like a personal trainer at the gym. I enjoy that. So it actually is like, it is kind of, I feel like it's like taking a treat away from myself to do sessions without a coach. But I know that it's important for my progress. So I'm like consciously trying to be better about that. But I do really like I like the experience of having somebody teach me, because I didn't really have that in my career. And I've actually really enjoyed being a student. And so I like having a teacher.
Is this only about the teaching element, but or also maybe about safety? That you're not there on your own and bad things could happen?
I think it depends on the break. I think safety in general is one thing that's really something I think about a lot with a coach. I also have a certain level of social anxiety. So when I go to a crowded break and I'm going for main waves, I do like, I almost think of sometimes as a coach as like they're blocking for you, like telling you you're in the clear, like you can paddle for that wave, or that person's, they know, like, for example, like that person's going to go right and you can go left, whereas I feel like I'm still not at the point where I know early enough that they're going to go right, that I have time to turn and paddle for the left. So like them kind of saving me that time is, in a crowded break, means like the difference between like 2 waves and 10 waves are in a session. So I like it for that aspect as well.
I only had 2 coaches, and that was like at the very, very beginning of my surfing career. But one thing that I find extremely useful is if I am in the group of other people surfing, and they can see the wave, and then they just tell me, just go, this is yours. And it's just so liberating because I don't have to make a decision.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I like going out with other people because of that too. Just like, I think I can get in my head, especially if it's, the more crowded it is, the more I'm in my head about like, getting in a surf accident, so to speak. And I just don't want to be that person. And I think everyone is going to be that person at some point on the accident. It's kind of, I think, the nature of surfing, but I'm doing my best to not be in the way. And then having a group or having a coach does help me feel better about decreasing my chances of being in the way.
That's one thing that I am always worried about. I don't care what happens to me, but I just don't want to ruin your wave because I'm going to be extremely upset about it.
Yep.
So we talked about the lineup anxiety. Is there anything else that you found hard, with being in the ocean? Not necessarily the obstacles of popping up, because we'll talk about it later, but just generally. I mean, it's just wild out there, right?
Yeah, I mean, people are the scariest part for me. I'm fine to like take a beating by waves. I don't really think about the wildlife aspect of it too much. I don't mind like the cold. I don't mind the wind. I just really don't want to be in somebody's way, and I don't want like somebody to be mad at me or like say something mean to me. That people are really like my biggest challenge in the ocean. And they're probably not even doing anything wrong. It's just in my head, but that's the part that's been the most difficult for me.
Do you find that some of the breaks where you surfed were more challenging from that perspective? That people were not as nice at some other breaks?
For sure. I mean, I think in general, the more people there are, regardless of the location, that I think it's just human nature. It becomes a limited resource, and it's going to be more hostile. The more people there are, the less waves there are. Listen, if it's a crowded break, but it's really consistent, it decreases hostility. But I think it really, I think there are some breaks that are probably a little more challenging than others, but overall, I think it just comes down to the amount of people. At least for me, in my head, it's just like it's really like a math and odds equation.
Do you think you ever benefited from the fact that people know who you are, especially on Instagram, because you're a visible feature of certain breaks around here in LA? Did they make it easier or harder?
I think it makes me more self-conscious because I'm like, oh, like they're going to judge me because like I have a coach, or I feel like it puts a little more pressure on me actually. And maybe if I didn't have that social anxiety aspect, maybe I could use it to my advantage, but it definitely makes me a little more stressed out and aware and even more not wanting to be in somebody's way.
Let's talk about these other obstacles in terms of like fitness. You are extremely tall. like I am 5'5", and when you arrive, I'm like, oh my God, I forgot how tall Cass is.
Yeah.
Does it present any sort of advantage in surfing whatsoever? Or do you think it just makes it harder?
I mean, I think being tall is traditionally looked at as not an advantage in surfing, but there's a lot of tall surfers. I mean, Mikey February's 6'3", and he's obviously killing it. I think my combination of my height, and this is a fun fact, I have a short wingspan. So I'm 5'9", and my wingspan is 5'5", and your wingspan is supposed to be about the same height as you. So like losing that space for pop-up kind of sucks. So I think that, is sort of challenging. And then I know that height, I don't have anything, I can't A/B test my height, but apparently like, being shorter, can help with like lower center of gravity is supposed to help with surfing. It's probably easier to get a little bit lower in certain situations if you're, not as tall. So I think, that is, probably a challenge, but I mean, I'm not 6'7", so I wouldn't say it's like that big of an obstacle, but also like being taller means you weigh more. So you have to think more about like a board that floats you and is long enough for you and that sort of thing.
What did you find most challenging? Was it the pop-up, turning, choosing the waves?
I still think reading and being in the right position is still the hardest part for me. I mean, I'd still clearly have a lot of issues with my pop-up. That's a big goal of mine this year is to really like hone in on like never having a knee touch the board when I pop up. I can do it, but as soon as I like get, if it's like a perfect day and it's like 2-foot waves, I can do it pretty consistently. But as soon as anything becomes a little more challenging and I can't focus my entire brain on that specific thing, I will revert to like a knee scrape. My pop-up is just slow. I think I'm thinking about a lot of stuff, but I will say I've gotten farther along and into bigger waves than I thought I ever would with my slow knee pop-up. I do want to focus on changing that because I am, I lift weights now and I am in the best physical shape I've ever been in. So I do think I physically can change my pop-up now, whereas before when I started, I don't think I could do anything better than I do now. I do think I could do better. I'm just going to have to go back to like smaller waves and relearn, popping up, in a different, more explosive way, which I'm fine to take the time to do that. But that is like one of my big goals for this year.
I saw you in videos on the waves. Your pop-up is not that slow. Mine is probably even slower. Do you think that when you're taking a wave, and do you think you're overthinking the pop-up?
Maybe. I also think that like people don't give, I get a lot of feedback online about my pop-up. It's interesting. But I think that you can also take more time on a pop-up than you think, unless like obviously you're doing like really big steeper waves, which I unfortunately think I am interested in doing at one point, and that's why I do want to redo the pop-up. But if I just wanted to stick with like kind of longboardish 2-3 foot waves, I think my pop-up is totally sufficient for that. But I do want to get into steeper waves at some point. I do think I'm going to have to be faster only because of that. And I didn't think when I started surfing I would even be, I didn't think I'd be interested in those kind of waves. And then I did a couple trips that I was like, oh no, I want to go for it. I didn't want to go for it, but I can't stop thinking about like some waves that I saw that I would love to try. So I do want to get faster at it because I do want to try some of those more challenging breaks at some point.
What size of the waves are we talking about here?
So when I went to, there was 2 trips at the end of last year that I did. The first one was like right south of the border, Baja Norte. It was amazing. I would say that day I didn't take any of the waves this size, but it was a point so I could kind of like paddle around and like just sort of like look. And it was a retreat, so we had like a videographer coach and then an in-water coach that was able, which his name was Roberto. We called him emotional support Roberto. He was a lifesaver that day. But that surf weekend little retreat, it was with Beyond Surf in San Diego. But that really like changed my perspective of like me believing in myself and being able to do bigger waves. Because I think before I was kind of like, oh, like I love like a waist high wave, and I still do love a waist high wave. But that day, it was the hurricane swell was coming in, and I remember the night before the big day we went out, it was like kind of coming in like, I would say like chest standouts would be like head high or a little overhead. And I was like, I looked at it before we paddled out, and I'm like, I talked to Jake, and I was like, do you think like I should even try? And he's like, yeah, you should. And I'm like, okay, then I'll try. And it was that session was great. It was perfect. I got so many waves. I did better than I thought I would. I performed better than I thought I could. And then the next day was bigger. Those were like consistent, like couple feet overhead waves. Mm-hmm. And I never like paddled out in something like that. And so I kind of took it like one step at a time. I was like, okay, step one, I'm just going to paddle out and look at them. And then finally I felt like comfortable, and I'm like, I want to take one of the waves that comes in between the bigger sets. And Roberto helped like me navigate through that. He's like, okay, so we're going to wait till the set clears. I'm timing them. You're going to go paddle on inside and take a small one, and take a small one, and I'll help you get it. And he's like, he had like fins, and he's like, I'm going to paddle directly like where you should go to get it. And so he helped me pick out like a one that was like probably like a, or like a shoulder head high ish wave in between like the waves that were like, a couple feet overhead. But watching people take those, being up close to people taking the couple feet overhead, I was like, yeah, I want to do that. And I was the only person out there on a long board. Everyone else had a short board. And I was like, I want to try that one day.
So would that mean that you would have to downsize to a short board if you wanted to do this consistently?
Yeah. So I would need to be on a board. I think my biggest challenge with those waves is I don't mind being in them. I don't mind taking them on the head. I just wish I could duck dive them. And I can't do that on a 9.5-foot board. Even though a lot of people on the internet tell me I can, I am not John Florence. I cannot duck dive an over 100-liter like long foot board. And I don't think most people can. So I think to be in the conditions that I would like to be in one day, I will have to downsize and be able to get, do, a shorter board for sure.
Are you scared of the height at all?
So the next trip, I didn't get scared of the height there because I wasn't taking those. I wasn't like getting into those waves. I took like a chest, it was probably a head high wave, but I felt, it was a little scary, but I felt okay on it. But it was fun to like sort of like be next to people taking the bigger ones. But 2 weeks later, I went to Sunzal, and that was the first time I went on a wave that size. And like that first, it kind of felt like I was throwing myself off the roof of a house. Like it was like but you're laying down, so it looks even taller. So that first day in Sunzal, like that was the first time I was actually like, I don't know if I want to do this. Because usually I'm like very much like, yeah, like let's do it. I don't care if I wipe out. I don't care if I like nosedive. Like let's do it. And that was the first time I was like, I had to like talk myself. Like I had to like have a mantra that day. I was like, okay, like you're gonna go and you're gonna stay low. And like I was like talking to myself when I actually got up on the wave. I was like, it's okay, stand up, you're okay. You haven't like it was like that. Like the conversation was probably ridiculous, but that was the first time I was like scared. But then I got used to it, and and now I like want to go back really bad. But the first couple sessions like kind of scared me a lot, actually.
I remember being the exact opposite to you. So like when I didn't know that this was scary, then I would take waves that were like 6 feet and I would wipe out every single time.
Yeah.
But after I've done it a few times and obviously I didn't catch anything, I was like, no, I think I just need to get so much better in the smaller waves before I can even attempt it.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun trimming and trying, to carve or even like pump a little bit.
Yeah.
And I do love longboarding, and it looks so graceful and beautiful. But I completely understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Because it's just like another thing that you could do in surfing.
Yeah. But it's just, El Salvador was it was amazing. The waves were incredible. I never really had like a wall like that to work with before. And then like that's the trip that made me think more about like, oh, like I want to learn about like turning. And I just never, I don't think I really had like the space to like have a wave provide that sort of opportunity for me in surfing before. And so to have experienced waves where I could like maybe, eventually like turn and carve on them, I was like, oh, like I like this.
You've traveled a lot
Yes.
for surfing. What are your favorite spots, or even countries, if you don't want to say if it's a secret spot?
I've liked everywhere I've gone. I would say, I really like El Salvador. I think a couple things I think is a standout compared to other spots. One, compared to other like Central American locations, El Tunco, the little surfing town, is 45 minutes from the airport, and that's just incredible versus a lot of these other spots in Central America. It's at least a 3-hour drive from the airport. So to be able to like get an Uber and like go to the surf town that's like cute and safe and has multiple breaks there, and then a lot of other ones within 20 minutes nearby, it's pretty convenient and like a good like long weekend situation. So I would love to go there, but you have to be careful about what you're looking for, because I went at the end of summer and it was pretty big. Main summer is probably massive, and I wouldn't want to go at that time unless like I'm feeling really brave and idiotic for some reason, which you never know, I might get there. But apparently right now is great, and then there's more sand on the beach and that sort of thing. But I loved that. I love Hawaii, but Hawaii can be crowded and can be unpredictable. More predictable than probably a lot of places in Southern California, but I love the warm water. But a lot of the beginner spots are very crowded, and the waves that I'm, kind of looking for now that have more of like a wall and like, places for me to turn, but are not like crazy difficult. Those are going to be pretty crowded waves there. So that's, love Hawaii, but I would say that's like a downside there. But looking forward to exploring some more places. I'm going to Ecuador in March with Beyond Surf. I'm excited to try that out and see how it goes. And I'm sure I'll have some more trips coming sooner rather than later. But I'm always researching new destinations.
You mentioned going on a surf retreat, so I want to talk about this a little bit. I remember, I think the first time that we talked, and you were just going on a surf retreat, and you came back, and there was this sort of a mismatch between what you expected a surf retreat would look like and how it actually turned out.
Yes. So I went with Surf with Amigas, which to northern Nicaragua, which was lovely. But I think I didn't think through like the experience of a surf retreat. Maybe it's because I hadn't gone on one before as much as in hindsight, I wish I would have thought about it. I think important things to think about for a surf retreat is one, like how often you want to surf, what other activities you want to do, if any, when on a surf retreat, and what kind of breaks you want and what kind of conditions you want. And so the one I went on, I think is a good. I think the Surf with Amigas retreat, all the people that went, like I was worried about like not liking somebody there and having to spend like a whole weekend with them. And everyone that was in my group of people was really awesome. And we all still like talk on WhatsApp, and a lot of them are actually going on another Surf with Amigas retreat to Costa Rica this year. So the people were awesome. I loved all the coaches and like the staff at the eco resort. They were great. My one, I don't want to say complaint, but I think just mismatch for me, because I'm a psychopath, is if I'm taking off for work to go to travel somewhere to surf, I want to surf the whole time. Like when I'm in Hawaii, if conditions allow, I will do 2 sessions a day. I'll do 3 sessions in a day if I can. Like I don't want to do anything else besides surf. Fun fact about me, I really hate yoga. So I don't want to do yoga. I don't know. I need to talk to my therapist about why I hate yoga so much. I don't want to do yoga. I don't really want to do any activities besides surf. Maybe get a massage, but I really want to just like zone in on surfing. But I think most people don't want to do that. I think most people like they're good with like one good long session a day, and a lot of people do like yoga or like do want to relax or see other things locally. And so I think you just have to just ask for like the schedule of the retreat to make sure that it matches like what you're looking for. And also like ask about the breaks you're going to surf. Like, is it a beach break? Is it a point break? Is it is it a reef? Like, just know, like, I think kind of there's so many retreats out there, like make your dream one in your head and know what, like, okay, I want it. My dream retreat is, 3-hour days surfing, reef breaks, and, I want to travel X far for it and it'd be this amount of days. You can find that retreat. There's a lot of them. You can find one that matches what you're looking for. And Surf with Amigas does have, they have a lot of retreats, like the one I did that's probably like one really good surf session a day and then like a yoga and then another activity. There's some that are like, I think Beyond Surf is a little more like where you're going to surf at least twice a day. Obviously depending on conditions, but that's like the goal if conditions align. So I think it just comes down to like, what do you want to do on the surf retreat and finding that. And I'm the psychopath that like will be in the water for like 10 hours if I can. And if people are surprised when I say this, like, I may not look like I can handle that, but like I don't get tired when I surf. Like I am conditioned to like paddle for that long and to like be out for that long. The thing that usually gets me out of the water is not being tired. It's, my schedule, because I have other things in my life and job and that sort of thing, or like I'm in a session with a coach and my lesson's over. Like those are the things that get me out of the water, or like the sun went down. It's not ever because I'm tired, I need to go in. That is like 1% of the time why my session ends. It's not because I'm tired. So I have the endurance. When I went to El Salvador, I was doing a partnership with Mira Surf, this hotel, which their hotel, I love it. I can't wait to go back. It's awesome. But I think they had planned one surf session for me a day and then like had like an activity for me. And I'm like, nope, I just want to surf. Can I take the activity out and I just want to surf again? And I think they're all like, really? And they're like, that's a long paddle out. And I'm like, yeah, I want to go twice. And they're like, okay. But that's what I want to do when I go on a surf trip.
I don't think you're the only psychopath. I would love to have an entire day just filled with surfing. I wanted to say that I don't get tired, but that's not necessarily true. I've experienced it for the first time in my life over this weekend. I went out in Venice 2 hours. I came back home and I had to lie down. I have never been so tired in my life. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
But it happened. I am hoping that on Sunday, I went out surfing and I was absolutely fine. So I'm hoping that it was just a total fluke.
It happens sometimes. Yeah. And sometimes I feel like I get tired. I mean, I don't ever feel like I get tired during the session. But like I do have those moments after where I'm like, I just want to sit and watch TV. I need something to eat. But so the Beyond Surf trip that I did to Mexico, I love the schedule. So like we go surf in the morning and then we go eat like some amazing like local Mexican food. And then we would sit and like do video review or one day we like got massages and then we like go out and surf for the rest of the day. And that's my kind of schedule that I like for the surf trip. And then we go like do something nice for dinner, like go, to like, we went to like this little like lobster town. It was fun. It was great.
Oh, sounds like a dream.
It's great.
I only went to one surf camp, and that was Witches Rock in Costa Rica. That everybody.
I've seen that. One of my friends went recently. Actually, I was watching it.
Probably knows about, but our schedule. I think we started because it was so hot. We started at 6. Me and my husband and a few other friends. We just started with a margarita, and then we went out surfing.
At 6 a.m.
Perfect. Yes, at 6 a.m. Because we're on vacation, so you do vacation things.
Yes, love it. I love that. How was Witches Rock?
I liked it, but I at that point, I was so new to surfing that I really didn't know what I wanted.
Yeah.
And probably the breaks that they were taking us to, they were not the best breaks for me because they were not those slow rolling
Yeah.
breaks. If I could have had Witches Rock at Waikiki, yeah, that would have been
Yeah.
perfect.
Okay.
But it's still a lot of fun, and it's a nice hotel, and people are always very, very nice. So I would recommend it. But then again, that was, I don't know, 15 years ago? A
Oh, wow.
long time.
Okay.
A long, long time ago.
Gotcha. Okay.
I wanted to add one more thing, that if I was planning to go on a surf retreat, one of the things that it would really matter to me is like how close is where I'm staying to where the breaks are. If I have to spend 45 minutes in the car, that would be a big no-no. So I'd rather
yeah.
if it was just there in front of me.
I've never stayed that far away from a break because Surf with Amigas retreat was well positioned for multiple breaks. I would say we didn't have to drive more than, there was a beach right out in front that was made sense for some people. We did drive most days, which I actually really liked the drive because I got to sit in the back of a pickup truck, and for some reason that made me really happy. It was like things that I don't get to do at home in the United States, so I liked that. And then you'd see like cows while you're in the back of the truck, and I just loved it. But I think I haven't had to do that, but I don't think I would like it. But in like El Salvador, everything was close. Everything was close in Nicaragua, and then on the Mexico trip, we were staying at the break we were surfing, so it was pretty easy.
Another thing that I read in your Substack was that you said you didn't get into surfing in order to lose weight.
Yeah.
But it sort of happened naturally. And I know that you've got a fitness routine because I see photos and videos of you exercising and doing weights.
Yes.
So what does it look like right now? Like, how much do you exercise on land versus surfing?
Interesting. Yeah, so I would say for the first year I just surfed. I didn't really do much on land. I mean, I walk a lot in general. I like it. And we live in Southern California where it's perfect weather to like walk everywhere all the time. So I've always been a walker. But other than that, I wasn't really doing much exercising on land until I started April or May of last year. I started lifting weights, not really because of surfing, just because I just like, I'm getting older. I want to be strong. And I don't want to be like scared of the gym anymore. I want to understand it. So I got a trainer and started going with the trainer, and now I go 3 times a week to do strength training, and I love it, and I kind of really do view it as a separate activity from surfing. Because I mean, obviously, I'm sure it probably helps some aspects of surfing, but I like weightlifting. I like that you can see progress. I like that there's like numbers attached to things, and you can like measure your progress in a real meaningful way, where I feel like that's a little bit harder in surfing. So it's nice to kind of have like that balance of like, numerically like knowing, okay, I can, I lifted this last month and now I'm lifting this month. So I really enjoy weightlifting and wish I would have discovered it earlier in life, but it is what it is.
Well, you're seeing progress. That's, I think, so rewarding. And the same thing with your videos.
Yeah.
Do you think that it helped your surfing? Did you see any difference?
In terms of like weightlifting helping surfing?
Yeah.
I mean, I think to a certain degree, I think that the one thing I think it's really helpful is when I can't surf, or if I'm traveling and can't surf, maintaining my upper body strength for paddling, to like, I think before I was weightlifting, if I would, take a week off because I had to work and was, not able to surf, I would definitely feel some pain after, some, not pain, but like muscle soreness after surfing the first time back. But now like I won't feel pain from surfing because I can maintain my upper body strength with weightlifting. So I think that is an advantage. I don't feel like I feel that really big of a difference otherwise. So my instructors say that there is. I don't know if they're just being nice or if there actually is like a difference in terms of lifting weight. But I think maybe I can probably paddle a little bit better. There's probably a little more paddle power. I'm hoping that, with this new journey with like fixing my pop-up, so to speak, maybe, it'll come in handy, with that, and in terms of like being able to get deeper on bending my knees. But I mean, not too much. I don't know. But, it's hard to say because you're in it every day. That's why I like the videos, because I can go back and look at a year ago and be like, okay, I can do some things better. But like, you don't really feel it on a day-to-day basis, and you don't really feel it in, from session to session either. So that's why actually one thing I'm doing with my videos is less now about analyzing per session and more about comparing over time, because I feel like sometimes, especially as you're like, I think in the phase I am of surfing, you looking session to session, it's hard to see a difference.
I also hate yoga, by the way. So, and doing anything surf related on land, like trying to do my pop-ups, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
This is not how I am built. I'm better off just going out surfing and just trying this over and over again. Do you do any exercises that are surf specific on land, or is it just weight training just to, keep your fitness up?
I think it's just weight training, and I do view it as a separate thing. I'm kind of like you. I don't really. I've tried to do like these and they're great videos, and like I understand why people should do them, but I am not inspired to do the land training for surfing. I wish I was. It does not speak to me. I also, so I for a second, I thought about getting a place in Hawaii and trying to be there part-time. This was like in May of last year, and I lived there for a month, and I realized during that time frame that I didn't want surfing to be that big of a part of my life, because that scares me I think that I have kind of an addictive personality, and if I start like surfing plus also doing things outside of the water to like support my surfing, like I just feel like that it's going to put me in a bad place of where it's not a hobby anymore, and it's too big of a part of my life and personality. And I think that for me, I think that works for some people, but I think for me that becomes like a dangerous place of losing the positive things of this thing in my life. So I almost don't want to dedicate more time to it than I already am, because I'm putting a lot of hours into it. Like I've rearranged my life to figure out how to do this at least 4 times a week. That's at least 12 hours of my week, probably more. And then I'm also editing videos. Like I can't dedicate more hours to this sport without ruining it, is kind of how I feel.
I think that's a very healthy approach. Like, what percentage of your week do you think spend on surfing, editing videos about surfing, and thinking about surfing?
Yeah, I mean, too much already. And so like then if I start adding land exercises and then like yoga, not because I like it, but because it's good for surfing and all this other stuff, like it becomes a second job, and I don't want it to be a job. I want it to be a hobby, and I don't want to, like I could probably do more on my Instagram and post more often and grow faster, but I don't want it to be my job. Like I already have a job. I like my job. My job was too big a part of my life at one point. I don't want this to like replace that. I want it to be like a really fun, passionate part of my life, but I don't want to push it. I don't want to push it anymore, because I feel like if I push it anymore, it becomes not fun for how my brain operates. And yeah, I'm probably already spending between traveling, going surfing, I think about surfing way too much. I I'm probably spending at least 20 hours a week on it. If not, so that's a proper half job. If you really count the hours I spend thinking about it, it's probably even way more than that, but I don't want to like sell myself out. But I am like kind of obsessed with it, and I don't want it to like go even further.
I'm glad that you're thinking about it this way, because I gave up surfing, I think for probably a couple of years, or maybe like I surf very sporadically, because I got to the point when it was just dictating everything in my life.
Yeah.
Where we went on vacation, what we did over the weekend when we were still in the UK.
Yeah.
We would always go out surfing. And I'm sure, as you said, it works for some people.
Yeah.
But if you want to enjoy your life and you want to surf until you're 65, 80, 100, it still has to be enjoyable.
Yes. And I felt it like, and so when I was in Hawaii and I like spent like 3 or 4 weeks there, I realized that if I lived there, it would become that. And I don't want it to become that. Cause I saw a lot of people where like it is their whole life and like, they're not getting paid for it. Like but it is their job and like mentally it's there. And I was like, I don't want this for myself. And I know that if I live there, it could very likely become this thing. And then like, it's a thing that I'm never going to be like the best at or good at. And like to like have this thing that you're never going to be like an all-star at, like take up such a big chunk of your life. Like for me, that just, I don't think that's going to put me in a good mental like relationship with the sport.
I was scrolling through your earlier videos, and there was one about the surfing 30 days in Waikiki.
Yeah.
That was at the very, very beginning.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Was this over a period of 30 days? Or?
No, so this was 2024 because I done a lesson like earlier that year. And I was like, I want to spend like a whole month and I just want to do like a surf lesson every day at the same spot. So that was like at the very beginning of my journey. And this was before I did the stint last year where I was thinking about like getting trying it out part-time. But yeah, I went every day for about a month, and it was really, really great. It was a really great place to like build a foundation and build some confidence and like see like, do I really love this? Like, can I build up like the stamina to do this at a break that's 1,000 yards out paddle or whatever? Like, and it was great. And I loved it even more after I did that. So that sort of like solidified my relationship with the sport.
I think anybody who can do this and surf as much as they can at the very, very beginning of their surfing journey is going to benefit from it, because there's no break in between sessions. You don't forget things. You just constantly progress.
Yeah.
Obviously, we cannot do it here in LA because sometimes we just have shitty waves and we cannot go out. And sometimes it rains, so also cannot go out.
No, there it was perfect. The reason why I chose there, well, I mean, obviously it's amazing, but I could work a normal work schedule here. I could work 5 to 2 and then go surf after. So I could keep a work schedule because I didn't have like any in-person commitments at that time. So I was able to keep a normal work schedule and then go surf after. I love the time zone there because of that, because you can surf and the wind doesn't blow it out. So you can surf after work, whereas here you can't, you have to go before 11. And that is challenging from a schedule standpoint.
You're not going to get hung up about the fact that we are getting a wave pool in El Segundo, and you could go out pretty much every single day if you wanted to, because that's not the way you're thinking about surfing. But this is just a segue because I want to talk about wave pools.
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts on wave pools, so
please do share. I have never surfed at the wave pool. However, I did learn snowboarding at the indoor slope. So,
interesting.
So I understand why this would be beneficial. But for me, wave pools, that's wave pools, and surfing, it's surfing. Yeah. So I'm curious how you feel about it.
I've liked my experiences at wave pools. I think I got kind of spoiled because my first wave pool was the Kelly Slater wave pool. And I wish it was like the reverse order now, but it is what it is. I got a last minute offer to go because somebody had to drop out of their heat, and it costs way less than it normally would have. So I was like, you know what, we're going to do it. And I'm glad I did it, but it was very stressful because it's so expensive. It's just like, how much every wave costs in your head. And so that makes it stressful. Even if you're amazing at surfing, it's stressful because of that reason. But it was a really good experience. And I would love to do it again now that I'm a little farther along. Maybe I'll do it again this year or next year, but I would like to do it. I think enough time has passed where I would see like progress from doing it the last time to doing it this time. So I would like to try it again. But I've done that one. I did the one in New Jersey that's like at the mall. That's they have it like it's a water park and they have a wave pool before or after. before and after work, and before and after the pool hours, which is nice. Then I've done the Palm Springs one and the Phoenix one. So that's I guess that's for being new at surfing. That's a decent amount of.
That's quite a few wave pools. Yeah.
I've enjoyed it. It's different, but like there's some aspects of wave pools that I can really appreciate.
How different is it for everybody who has not experienced a wave pool in terms of catching a wave and then riding, how long the rides are?
I mean, so the Kelly Slater wave pool is a 60-second wave that's it's over, I think it's about a third of a mile long. It's insane. That wave it's 22 miles an hour and it's 60 seconds. It's crazy. And that wave is, I would say that wave is probably the tallest in height out of the ones I went to. And I would say that it was a lot faster than I thought it was, because I'd never done this before. And it was when I went out, because my heat wasn't until the next day, and we were there the night before, and I went out on the jet ski to like ride along the side of the wave to see it. And I'm like, oh, this is like bigger and faster than I thought it was going to be. But that one's definitely, the creme de la creme. Like that is an amazing wave, and you can pick your setting, and it's a proper barrel. It's great. I would say, the thing I like about wave pools is that like, priority is determined. Like this is your wave, you're going on it. Like you don't have to think about that aspect of it. And for somebody who like me who has a lot of social anxiety, I do like that part being removed so you can like think about focusing on other things. In wave pools, it is harder to catch a wave because it isn't saltwater. So that is something to like take into consideration on like what board you bring. A lot of times they recommend to bring something with a little more volume than you usually use. But that's something that I think is important to take into consideration. And I think it depends on what wave pool be on there as to how real it feels or not. I would feel like outside of the Kelly Slater wave pool, the best wave that I've done was, I loved the lefts and rights at the Palm Springs wave pool. I would say that was like the closest thing to the ocean. I loved the Revel Surf Park and I forget the name of the other pool in New Jersey, but it feels like a wave and you can practice turns, but it doesn't you don't feel like the power of the ocean. But I would say the Palm Springs one, it felt a little more like the power of the ocean in it.
So do you usually have to bring your own board, or is it just, it just depends?
So all of them have like a board room is what they call it, where you can get a board. And that's actually the wave pool in New Jersey. That actually is how I picked out my board that I have now. They used they're called float. They're like have all these different foam boards you can pick from, but they had high volume 8 and 8.5 foot boards, and I never tried a board that short before. And I was like, oh, well, these are super high volume for that length, so I'll try it there. And that's where I tried those boards for the first time, actually. So that was nice. But all of them have a ton of options. Some of them it's included in the fee. Some of them it's an add-on. But a lot of people fly in their boards. I flew my board to Phoenix when I went to the Revel Surf Park.
Do you usually fly your boards when you go on surf retreats?
The Revel Surf Park was end of last year, and that was the first time I'd flown a surfboard. Or no, it was the second time. I forgot I flew my board to Hawaii last time, but that was kind of like my practice trip. I was like, it's just Phoenix. This will be a good practice run on like flying a surfboard. So
you mentioned that you've got 4 boards, but I'm curious, what was your first board when you started after Hawaii, after, being on a paddle board, being on something that's long and it's got so much volume?
Yeah. So we actually, for my boyfriend, and I would use this sometimes, when we got back from Hawaii, I got a 9-foot Stormblade SSR Max because I just wanted like the big high volume foam board, but I outgrew that pretty quickly just because it's so wide. Mm-hmm. So it was hard to like turn it. And it's hard to like, paddle with it because it is so wide. But I thought it was great for like the first 6 months. But he had a like a 9-foot paddle board that we eventually got rid of it, but not because we didn't want it anymore, but because like the top got torn up and it just wasn't worth. We didn't want to deal with replacing it, but that I actually loved because he's a big guy, and the 9-foot paddleboard was like he loved that for surfing. So that was actually, it was like a narrower paddleboard. So we started with those, and we steal each other's boards sometimes, and still. So
What do you have now?
so now I have my main longboard is the 9.6 like Mega Magic. I love it. I think that board is like the maximum length board I can turn okay. And if I want to do like, not like left or right, but like a little turn on a wave, I would say once it gets longer than that, I'm not capable of turning it. But I would say that's my main longboard. And then I have my 8-foot float. They're called the Tanker. I call it my plus size shortboard, but I love it for like beach breaks and steeper waves. So I'm usually using one of those two. If it's really small out, I'll steal my boyfriend's. He has a 10-foot Mega Magic, so I'll get a little more volume. And it's a soft top Mega Magic. It's great. I love it. And then if it's really, really small, or I'm just feeling adventurous, we have an 11-foot NSP, like the big board they use for lessons in Hawaii. But that thing, you can really only use that board at like 3 breaks around here. It's huge. It's a tank. It's fun for like a small day at a longboard break.
Did you ever consider getting a custom board?
Not yet. Just because I am pretty happy with everything that I have right now. I think eventually, just because I don't think this exists, I would love a not soft top version of my float board, because that board has helped me progress so much. And I'd never seen until I did that wave pool in New York, and a float is they're kind of like the Stormblade of like Portugal. I'd never seen any board like that short with that shape with that amount of volume. So I was like, oh, like this is probably the perfect board for me for like a beach break. Because it has the same volume as my 9.5, but it's 8 feet. So I can kind of turn it, and it's not, I think it's like maybe 26 inches wide. So it's not too crazy for like turning it around and stuff. Whereas like a paddleboard's like 30, and that's really hard to like sit on and turn around. So maybe one day. I don't know if I'm like, that locked in on it yet. I don't feel like I've maxed out my potential on my current boards, but maybe if I feel like I've mastered those two, I'll get to it. But I still have a lot to learn on the boards I have right now.
This is a very refreshing approach, because all I keep hearing is people start on their foamies, and the next thing is like, well, I need to get a custom board. I need to downsize, and I need to get a custom board. I don't know where they heard that this is the progression that you have to apply in surfing. But I love hearing that, the boards that you've got are great for the level that you're at.
Yeah.
And you can just continue until you feel like, now I want that board, that specific board, and custom.
Yeah, I think I want to get to the point where like, on my longboard, like, I want to feel like, oh, like I could do this. I can't do this maneuver unless I get this board, or I'm cross stepping now, and I want something that holds that better. But I'm not there yet. And yeah, still just have a lot of maneuvers and things to learn on my, my mid-length shortboard shaped board. Like I'm just not there yet, but I am happy that people want to, support shapers, but I don't feel like educated enough to even know what to ask. I don't know my surfing has not reached the point where there's not something I don't have right now that, can support me. But one day I think that'd be a fun experience. I think more so for the aesthetics than anything. I want to pick my colors. If anything, I'd probably get like a similar board to my Walden Mega Magic, but I just want like prettier colors. That's probably what I would want. On like a purple one. But yeah, I've been really happy with both of my boards. I think my two main boards are the Float and the Mega Magic 9.6, and I think they've both been very good to me so far, but we'll see what the future holds.
You mentioned that your boyfriend also surfs.
Yes.
Is it beneficial to go out with your boyfriend? Do you get more stressed when he's around? Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing?
I think it's generally a good thing. I think he's not as frothy as me, so I think sometimes he's a little annoyed at like how much I want to surf. And to be fair, I totally understand his perspective. If I were him, I'd be annoyed too. But like I love that we're going to Hawaii at the end of this week, and we both like that is both like we both like the breaks that we surf there, and it'll be a good experience, and we'll have a good time doing that together. But he really only wants like longboard, like easy rollers. That's like all he's interested in. So like when I want to do that, like we have a great time together. But if I'm doing something a little steeper, he's probably not going to like that. And I'll tell him that and he won't go. Yeah.
How many times have you surfed now since because you track your progress and you do your little videos. So
to a certain degree, but I don't do every session. So if I mean, definitely over 200 times, probably more than that. I don't know, but at least 200 times.
That is a lot of times for what is it?
2 years?
Not even 2 years.
Yeah, definitely more than that. But yeah, because like 4 times a week in 1 year would be 50. Yeah, it would be 200 in probably 1 year. So probably at least 300. Because I at first I wanted to do every session. I'm like, no, it's too much work. That's like a whole job. Mm-hmm. And I don't want it to be my whole job. So, yeah, probably at least 300 times. Maybe I should be better if I've done it 300 times. But
no, that's fantastic.
Yeah, but it's been awesome. I love it being like a part of my routine.
Is there anything that you found surprising in that journey? 300 sessions. Do you feel that you're a different person? Has anything changed in your life outside of surfing and being in the ocean?
I mean, I think my perspective on so many things has changed because of this. From a work standpoint, I would say being a student has been a really good experience for me in terms of being a professional. I own a company and I have about 40 or so team members on my team. And when I started my company, I work in social media, and I started at the beginning of social media. I've never had somebody teach me it. Like I like sort of created the way that social media is used in the field I'm in. So like I never had a blueprint, or I was never really taught anything. I was telling other people how to do it. So I think having to do an activity that I don't know anything about, and to have to like rely on other people's perspectives and that sort of thing has made me much more empathetic at work and teaching people. So I think that's been really, 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 really useful for me, both professionally and just in other aspects of my life, in terms of like, I'm naturally good at this thing I do at work, but I'm not naturally like, I'm not like a, prodigy surfer, and I'm going through a normal learning process there. And I think it's just made me more empathetic to other people learning other things in a normal way. So I'm really grateful for that perspective. And it's also like just taught me a lot about self-care, and like taking care of myself, and knowing it is just spending more time with myself. And also like, I think I always had a fear of like not being good at athletic things or things that have to do with my body. And it's just made me like understand like my body is so much better, and be like, and want to like invest more time and, into it, and understand more about like strength and that sort of thing. And I think I just always avoided that topic because I'm like, I'm not good at it. And to just like tackle something that isn't like your natural talent I think it's been a really positive thing for me, and, just outside of the hobby itself.
So I know you don't want surfing to overtake your life, but is there anything in terms of like a dream that you have that is related to surfing?
That's related to surfing. I mean, to be better at it, but I mean, I would love to do like a longer surf trip at some point. It's just finding I would love to do like the like Indonesia or, something, in that area of the world, but I don't want to do it in a week. So I think that being able to take to do a proper like surf sabbatical will be really cool. I don't know when that will come for me, but I would love to spend a lot of time doing that, in terms of surf, dreams or goals. And I would love to be able to ride a board small enough that I could duck dive one day. That's my other goal. But I know that'll take time. But I would love to be able to duck dive. That would be awesome. Sounds easy, but it's not that easy for me. So
who knows? Maybe this is your surf goal for 2026.
The duck dive. I mean, I have surf goals for this year. My no knee pop up is one of them. I would like to do a cross step on a ride and not fall off after like complete the ride is another goal I have. And then just in general, being able to bend my knees more. I have that's going to take more like ankle strength and like also like probably need to lose a little weight to get a deeper bend in my knee. So like just some general, I have a general goal around like decreasing. I don't want to make it about weight, but decreasing like body fat percentage is my sort of focus right now.
Did I see something in the video about you teasing new things, new plans for 2026? Is this related to like how you're documenting your journey or something else? Can you even talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to figure it out, but I think I don't know if I'm sure I'll still do like the format of like recapping sessions, but one of my best performing video I've had to date was kind of showing where I started and where I'm at now. So I think I want to figure out how I now that I've been doing it for a second, how to showcase progression a little bit more. Cause that is something I wondered a lot about when I started surfing. And one of the reasons I started my account was to like give more information for people who are like thinking about doing this sport or just learning and diving in and trying to figure out like what's normal for like if I've been doing this for a year, what do other people look like at that age? Because or at that age of surfing, but for having surfed that amount of time, what do other people like look like? So that's why I'm trying to like kind of showcase that a little bit more, because there's a lot of accounts I follow, and there are people that are I think generally way younger than me or surf way more hours a week than me, but they're definitely like progressing way faster than I am. But I also like, I work in content and I work in talent. So I think I have sort of a realistic perspective. And I'm like, well, I know that they're also like, one, they're younger than me and that helps. Two, they surf, they've basically made it their career. Like they're a creator by trade and like they're a surf creator now. And that is their main job. And I don't want that to be my main job. And I'm just a, different, age, person, size, and that sort of thing. So like, what is it, if I'm not that person creating content, what does like progression look like for other people? So I wanted to be, I don't think I'm the sole, resource on that, but I wanted to be another resource in the mix of like, what does like it look like? What does progression look like for somebody like me who's taking it really seriously and loves it a lot, but it isn't like their job and they're 40 years old and not 23 or whatever. So
I've been going through some comments on your videos, and you're an inspiration to people who are your age, maybe they're on the larger side, and I love reading those comments. Do you feel like you're giving hope to the surfers who are underserved effectively?
Yeah, exactly. Because I felt kind of underserved when I started looking for content when I started surfing. And granted, there is some great content out there, but a lot of parts of me I don't think were being acknowledged or spoken to. So I was like, I bet other people are. And as soon as I started my account, I met a lot of people are actually like good friends of mine now, or were in similar situations. Like they're new and in their 30s or their 40s and like they're not sure if they could do it or not. And whenever somebody like messages me and said that they like I made them feel like comfortable taking a first surf lesson, like that's really cool. And I want people to like see somebody like me where I started and was like, oh, like she did a first surf lesson and like it was okay. You know, like she ended up actually really liking it, but I was so scared to do a lesson because I was uneducated and I was scared they wouldn't let me sit on a board or like whatever. But like I made up these scenarios in my head that didn't happen, and I just wanted, if I could, make somebody feel more comfortable about doing a surf lesson for the first time or doing a retreat for the first time. Or I get a lot of messages actually about people who surfed as a kid and haven't, stopped and are thinking about doing it again. And that's cool that if I, even like help them like start the process of thinking about, getting out in the water again, that weekend with their kids or whatever, like that's really cool. But I think a lot of people see a little part of themselves in different aspects of my journey, and that's cool. And it also has made me feel a lot less alone, because I felt like when I started, I felt kind of like, oh, there isn't a lot of people out there like me doing this. And by putting myself out there, they may not be posting content, but I've met so many people who, we have a lot of things that overlap in a Venn diagram, and I love when I meet new people on Instagram and DMs and in real life, because it makes me, it makes me want to keep going too, because it makes me feel like I belong more as well. So it's pretty awesome.
You mentioned that you felt underrepresented because there was not enough content.
Yeah.
But it's not only content, right? It's wetsuits and the size of a wetsuit, or even from my perspective, even the stuff that I'm reading, it's like, well, Surfer Magazine is not what it used to be. And I don't necessarily find all these stories interesting. So do you feel like this is changing, or is it, I mean, I know it's only been 2 years.
Yeah. I think the wetsuit thing is really hard. When I started surfing, the only wetsuit I could find that would fit me I remember the first lesson I did in California, I couldn't find a full wetsuit, and I wore like, and now that I know more about surfing, this was such a bad idea. And I'm like, well, just buy one of those ones that has like a top and a bottom. Horrible idea. That did not go over well. That lesson was really bad. It was, I wish I videoed it. It was horrible. It was like the worst lesson I've ever had. The poor dude, I don't think he had a board bigger than like an 8-foot wave storm. And that's just not going to work for me when I've surfed like once in Hawaii. But I eventually found Amazon has like this brand called, I think it's called like Hevto, but they only make it up in the 3-2, which that part kind of sucks. But it is a pretty, like, I think it goes up to like a size like 26 or 28. It doesn't keep you as warm as like a Rip Curl or whatever, but like, but like when I first started surfing in the winter here, or I guess it was been like spring, but like 2024, when it was, I still needed a wetsuit. That 3-2 got me in the water and got me doing the thing. I have lost, since I started surfing 2 years ago, I've lost about maybe 50 pounds, just kind of, not really focusing on that, but it kind of happened.
Congratulations.
Thanks. And I've maintained my muscle mass though, which has been really nice to lose that, but maintain the muscle, has been really cool. But so it's been, just a slow, progression, not all at once, but that's been, so I can fit into a size 16 at Rip Curl now. Which has definitely opened up my options a lot, but I'm like right on the cusp of like, but but I still can't fit into like, what is it Abyss? Is that the brand that like the cool color? Like I think they go up to maybe like a size 10 or 12. Like a lot of places go up to like 10 or 12. So it is kind of a little tough out there. I'm hoping to see more options in the future, but that the wetsuit thing, especially when I was like, before I could fit into the Rip Curl one, I don't have no idea where I would get a 4.3 that would have fit me when I first started surfing. So it is challenging, and luckily I didn't live in Northern California, and the 3.2 got the job done to get me out in the water. But yeah, I think that part is discouraging if you're not in Hawaii. I think that's another reason why I wanted to do it, and I liked Hawaii, because I didn't have to think about like the wetsuit part of it all, and like, does it fit? And even the wetsuits I have now, they it's like funny. It's like they are definitely made for like somebody that's like 6'3", so like they're a little like long on the arms, which is fine. There was a woman that was surfing with us last week, and she's like, there's so much extra fabric on your on your ankle, and I'm like, yeah, because like this is the wetsuit that fits me. I'm like, it doesn't bother me, and she's like, it doesn't bother you, and I'm like, no, I mean, it might now that like you pointed it out, but like physically, I don't feel it or notice it. No, but yeah, so it's that part of it is a little challenging, but I'm hoping that there's more options in the future, and at least there's that Amazon option for the 3.2. But I messaged them. I'm like, you all need to make a 4.3, so that would maybe open up some more options for colder water surfing with multiple sizes.
Well, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I want to finish just with one last question. What would be the advice that you would give to anybody who wants to get into surfing? Something that helped you.
Oh, there's so much advice that I've been given that I think is good. But I think just, the advice I think I would give myself is to just going into this knowing that progress is very slow. It is normal for progress to be very slow. There's nothing wrong with you for progress being very slow, and to just like be kind to yourself in the process. It is a very hard sport. It's the only, in basketball, like your goalpost doesn't move like while you're trying to shoot at it. Like it's you're like interacting with an animal, the real live thing in nature, and you just have to be kind to yourself and know that it is normal for it to be slow in the learning process. And I still get beat myself up all the time. So I'm still trying to like take my own advice, but be kind to yourself and just know it's slow, but it's really fun. Really, really fun. It's the best thing that's happened to me in my adulthood. So.
And that's all for today. Check out the Waipai Weekly for our free newsletter, more stories and ways to connect with us. Thanks for listening. See you tomorrow for more of the Waipai Weekly.